My identity is in danger. For years now, I've been grappling with the idea that I may not be as well-defined a person as I would have hoped. There's this strange sense within me that the constituent parts of who I am don't all necessarily belong to me. And if that's the case, which parts of me are me? I blame the book Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer for putting me through this, but I think the idea's always been lurking somewhere in the back of my mind. The story presents a vision of self-identification I've never seen anywhere else. As I recall the way that the strange setting blurs the lines of distinction, allows the genetics and psyches of different species and individuals to flow together, I can't help but feel as though I too am perhaps a little less individual than I'd like to believe. It's an easy way to feel, actually. Perhaps something we all experience at some point, but I've been having a hard time finding the words for it. So instead, I'm turning to a symbol. The ancient Greek chimera. Everything I've been feeling about this strange, fractured, multifarious sense of self-identity resides in this one creature. It is the incarnation of our patchwork selves. And I think it's time we confronted it. We storytellers have a weird relationship with myths. Over time, we share them less and less in the form of stories, and more in the form of reference points. They become touchstones used to invoke certain meanings and ideals. Sometimes the symbolism of the myth even starts to supersede the original story until it's taken on a life the original storytellers never intended for it at all. That is the chimera to a T. If you look back at the tales this thing is from, you're not really going to find much. Most of the big popular sources, like Hesiod's Theogony, Ovid's Metamorphoses, the Fabulae of Hyginus, Apollodorus Volume 1, and the Iliad by Homer, really just throw it in there as an aside. It's monstrous. It's got 3 heads. It breathes fire. In the front it's a lion, in the back a dragon or a serpent, and the rest is a goat. Pretty dangerous. Causes a lot of destruction. Its mommy was Echidna and its daddy was Typhon. Its siblings with the Lernaean Hydra and Kerberos. It comes from Lycia. And there you go. Apparently all you need to know about it for the purposes of the story, and not a drop more. They bother to tell you this so that when the hero Bellerophon slays it, riding gloriously on the back of Pegasus, you know just how dangerous it was for him to square up against this monster. And that's pretty much it. In the old texts, the chimera is more or less just a matter of bragging rights. But I think there's something in that, actually. The fact that these great works only mention the chimera as a point of reference could mean that it was already a powerful symbol and a well-known figure in oral tradition before these stories were ever committed to text. In fact, it appears much earlier in visual art, like pottery. So it wasn't just popularized by famous works, it was already there in the Greek collective conscious. Something about this idea must have been resonant to people, and I'm not convinced that any one part of it, the lion, the dragon, the goat, the battle with Bellerophon and the Pegasus, is what moved them. I think what makes the chimera so meaningful is the fact that it's an amalgamate monster, something made up of a bunch of different creatures. You're probably not going to be surprised when I tell you that this is far from the only monster of this variety. These have turned up throughout world history and are pretty much everywhere in some form or another. I'm going to butcher these names, but there's the Assyrian Lamassu, the Persian Manticore, the Egyptian Sphinx, the North American Jackalope, the Chinese Kirin, the Indo-Pakistani Unicorn. Yes, that's most likely where it comes from. All of these have the same stitched-together quality as the chimera. Some are a little more harmonious, some a little more chaotic, but they all fit the bill. Even common depictions of angels are really just human beings with the wings of birds. So they're sort of in this grouping. Storytellers have always created these patchwork beasts. In that way, the chimera is far from unique. But somehow, perhaps owing to all those romantics who drew their inspiration from Greco-Roman sources, chimera is the word we use here in the West to describe all of them. Maybe it's not the term we use in every case, but If you were to use it to describe a hybrid creature of pretty much any variety, I truly doubt anyone would correct you. In fact, the term chimerical has historically been used to describe anything fantastical whatsoever, even dreams. Which I guess makes sense because, when you think about it, what are fantasies and dreams if not combinations? Amalgamates of our ideas and our experiences. The most stunning manifestation of this, though? The term has even reached into modern science, where it's used to describe the phenomenon of living creatures whose cells contain genetic material from more than one organism. That's right, biological chimera are real, although they tend to be a touch less monstrous than all the other forms we've described so far. These are twins who were absorbed by their sibling in the womb, fish who melded into the body of their mate as a part of their normal reproductive process, even different plants that have been grafted together. With the advent of CRISPR-Cas9 and all the other gene editing technologies out there, the world is fast becoming a more chimerical place. But more interesting than all the many classifications of chimera is how we as sentient creatures with our own sense of identity feel about them. What do they do to us when we come up against them? Why has this symbol lasted for so long and reached so far? Well, I think we can begin to find an answer by looking at some reactions to them, both in media and practice. The way they're depicted in our art, the way we plan for a future involving them, tells us a lot about how they're situated in our collective psyche. One famous example, the source of countless memes, comes from the anime Full Metal Alchemist. In the world of the show, a chimera is any alchemical combination of animals. Normally, they just kind of turn out as weird, wild beasts, but one alchemist manages to create an intelligent, talking chimera. Unfortunately, he does it by fusing his daughter and her pet dog into this sad thing. Although the daughter and dog are still technically both there in a different form, for all intents and purposes, they're as good as dead. You can find another pretty striking example of this in the 2010 film Splice, although I am not 100% sure I can recommend you watch this movie. Just take it from me, it's an interesting case. It's about a secret part-human hybrid creature grown in a lab. Over the course of the film, as the experiment spirals out of control in violent and other uncomfortable ways, the scientists responsible have to grapple with the ethical questions surrounding it. It's part human, so does it have some intrinsic rights? Can they really just put it down as if it were a rampaging beast? Funnily enough, lawmakers have been posed with very similar questions in the real world. There is actual legislation surrounding this topic. The Human Chimera Prohibition Act of 2005, yes, that is a real thing, details some very interesting ethical findings around the topic. It says that serious ethical objections are raised to some types of chimeras because they blur the lines between human and animal, male and female, parent and child, and one individual and another. It also says that respect for human dignity and the integrity of the human species may be threatened by chimeras. And the bit I find most interesting, the uniqueness of individual human beings is manifested in a particular way through their brain and their reproductive organs/cells. Who could have ever guessed this was something the human species would need to take so seriously? Well, I guess I take it pretty seriously too. I can't blame you. There seems to be something fundamentally troubling about this idea, a natural fear that in the combination of selves, there is also a loss. The physical form may still be there in some way, but the distinct identity is no more. It is safe to say that we generally have some pretty complex feelings about this whole thing, and it's not terribly hard to see where they manifest themselves. What is a touch harder is finding the words for it. Why does it have this effect? Why do we react in the way that we do? Well, fortunately for us, someone's already figured that out. In his book, Oneself as Another, French philosopher Paul Ricoeur employs the Latin terms ipsi and idem to describe two aspects of identity. Ipsi, he says, is the distinctive self, what sets one apart from others. Idem, on the other hand, is the categorical self, what allows one to identify themselves as a part of a group, such as species or culture. We all identify ourselves as both one unique, distinctive entity and through the ways in which we are the same as those around us. In my case, that's sort of lacking, but I suppose I have the taloids. And through all its various forms, the chimera confronts us with a violation of both. Think of the original Greek monster or the biologically engineered one from Splice. What is it? A lion? A dragon? A goat? What is she? Human still in some way? Or something altogether different? In the combination of species and forms, the item vanishes. These creatures can't identify as a part of any of the groups to which their individual parts belong. Rather, they belong to only one confused category, the chimera. And think of the artificial version of this too. Graft chimeras in the real world, that poor creature from Full Metal Alchemist, are they still themselves in any capacity? How much of the flower needs to be grafted over before it's no longer recognizable as the plant it once was? How can you be identified as a singular, distinctive person when you share a body and a mind with someone else? The Ipsy is imperiled, if not dead. Of course, this is mostly fantasy. No one's ever going to journey into Area X from Annihilation and start to slip out of their gene pool. For the foreseeable future, precious few are going to be genetically augmented into artificial chimera. Even fewer will be born that way. And as long as you aren't an anglerfish or a plant, you're not liable to just up and blend with someone else on the fly. So, this entire symbol, the chimera, it's all just a foil to our experience as intelligent beings, right? Something fictional to make us reflect on what's real? Well, not exactly. Physically, almost none of us will ever have to worry about these things. This is true. But psychologically, our Ips and our item are far from perfectly defined. We are each the product of all the people we have ever known and their influence on us. We harbor a multitude of selves, each for different occasions, for different circumstances. We are brimming over with conflicting ideas and desires and impulses that have come from sources outside of us, and we're picking up more all the time. If this is about identity, the concept we have of ourselves, the strange reality is that we are all, sort of, chimera. This is what I was trying to find the language for after reading Annihilation. Beyond a simple comparison to something we aren't, or something that we would dread becoming, we can see in the chimera a mirror to what is inside of us. It is a confrontation with that strange, awkward multifariousness which complicates any notion of truly understanding who you are. So of course this monster endures. Of course we have an affinity for something that can reach past the protective layers of self-concept and touch the patchwork soul within. And that would be where the video ends, except I have more to say. This is a really interesting topic to me, and when it came time to trim down the script, I couldn't quite let it all go. I had to keep a full version of the video out there somewhere. It seemed right. Luckily, there is a place where I can share that stuff, where we don't have to worry about streamlining our content so that it's a perfect fit for attention spans and algorithms. I'm talking about our new streaming platform, Nebula. YouTube is a weird place for educational content. It's hard to be as honest and open as you want while trying to satisfy the algorithm and trying to dodge some kind of terrible fate like channel-wide demonetization. So a bunch of us educational creators got together and made our own platform where we don't have to worry about any of that. You can find all of our videos there ad-free and full of additional content we normally have to cut out for YouTube, including the extended version of this video. And we are not the only ones. The same is true for so many other amazing creators. It's basically a safe haven for the material we wish we could share here. And the best part is that you don't even actually have to pay for Nebula if you don't want to. The good people at CuriosityStream want to make sure we indie creators will always have this special space, so they've decided to foot the bill for Nebula for anyone who signs up with them. Get a year of CuriosityStream and you get a year of Nebula for free. If you like highly produced documentaries, and I mean really highly produced, this beats pretty much anything you can find on Netflix, I cannot recommend CuriosityStream enough. It's got thousands of titles, including videos about everything from prehistoric aquatic monsters to the cutting edge of modern science. For this video, I actually sourced a bit of my information on biological chimera from one of their documentaries, The Genetic Revolution, which is an incredible detailing of the advancement of modern gene manipulation. It is a shockingly dramatic story. You have to see it to believe it. I also learned a little bit more about the nature of myths and legends with their documentary Myths and Monsters. Those are definitely two worth watching if you liked this video. Go satisfy your curiosity. Sign up for a year of access now and save 26% on your subscription. That's just $14.79 a year, not per month, per year, for both CuriosityStream and Nebula, which is a ridiculous price for a streaming service. Click the link in the description or go to curiositystream.com/TaleFoundry and use the code TaleFoundry to get access to both streaming services for less than $15 a year. Before we wrap up, I'd like to give a quick thanks to all the helpful humans who support the show on Patreon. All those words you see scrolling in the background of these videos? Those are actually the names of our Patreon maintenance crew, without whom this show would be impossible. And I mean that in more than just a financial sense. Our patrons are actually part of our production process. During research, our Patreon maintenance crew joins us for live, private Discord streams where we dig up information for our next video together and discuss our topics in depth. It is an amazing time and actually extremely productive. In fact, we have one of our Patreon engineers to thank for some of the ideas in this video. I prefer the term anti-hero. The phrase, "we are all chimera," was ingenious. Thank you so much for sharing and helping us to find the language we needed for this. If you'd like to join up yourself and share what ideas you have to offer, visit patreon.com/TaleFoundry for more information. And that's it for this video. There's usually a few weeks between uploads, so if you want more TaleFoundry in the meantime, come join our community. We have a Discord server that's basically like a big family of creatives, a lot of love there. We also run writing groups on Twitch every single week if you want to get some practice in. You can find links to all of it in the description. Hope to see you there. Until then, thanks for watching and keep making stuff up. I'll see you next time. Bye!